Hi, this is John with guitar-review.info. Today what we're going to do is we're going to take apart a pedal that has a tube inside of it and replace it with a new one to make it sound a little bit better. And what we've done is we've taken apart the real tube pedal from late 70s, early 80s, made by the infamous, or licensed through the infamous B.K. Butler. He was one of the first guys to build a pedal, a guitar pedal that actually had a real tube inside of it for distortion. And when you use a distortion pedal like this that has a real tube inside of it, on the clean channel of an amp, it's like, you know, turning a solid state amp into a partial tube amp or enhancing a tube amp that you have. I've gotten this one, it seemed a little scratchy when we started to use it, so what I did was I took all the screws, as you can see there, off the top of all the volume pots, and I've taken the volume pots here and I pulled the whole assembly out sideways. You can clearly see the tube that was inside of this pedal, the 12AX7 tube. What I'm going to do, if you look at the volume pots here, let me see if I can turn this the right way, you'll see a little hole right there, and a little hole right there on the volume pots. That's actually for cleaning. What you can do is you can get a can of deoxit. Deoxit is something you can get at Guitar Center. You can also get it at most music stores. You can buy it online at about $11.95, about $12 US, I'm thinking. I've cleaned a lot of things with it before. Basically, you spray just a little bit there inside the holes, and then you turn the volume knobs back and forth with your fingers many times. There's a little wiper inside here, much like the wiper on a windshield that goes back and forth and back and forth. When volume pots get really scratchy, what that actually is the wiper going back and forth and back and forth, and there's static and dirt in there that's built up, and it goes, you know, over time, and it sounds really crappy. So it's really easy to clean your own pedals and do that. So what we're going to do today is I'm going to clean both of these out by spraying those with deoxit, the two on that side, and then on this side there's 3 more volume pots. I'm going to clean each of those as well. As you can see from the front face of this, the real tube pedal had an output pot, a drive pot, and one for high, mid, and low. So I've got 5 pots to clean. And the next thing I'm going to do is this pedal here has this tube inside of it, this vacuum tube, 12AX7. 12AX7 is a very common tube for the British amp tone, okay? And one thing a lot of people don't know is, a lot of times, especially in pedals like this, you can take this 12AX7 tube out and replace it with something else. What I'm going to do is I'm going to replace the 12AX7 with a 12AU7 that I bought online on eBay for only $5. And actually the 12AU7 that I bought is what we call new old stock, NOS. In other words, it's not been used, supposedly, if the seller told me correctly, and it was originally manufactured in the 50s for cars, for car radios. So now we're going to clean this out, and then we'll plug it back in and put the new tube in and see how it sounds. Okay, and now we're back. We have everything put back together. As you can see, the real tube pedal by B.K. Butler in Tube Works from back in the 80s is put back together. And inside the pedal board we have the pedal set currently. Let's see here. What we have is output 50%, drive 50%, high looks like about 1 o'clock, mid at 3, and low at 11 o'clock. Okay, and we're going through Carvin Legacy. And this particular amp has a very dry, clean channel and a reverb that's pretty much worthless. Right now it's set on completely clean, and the volume is on the clean channel at barely 1 at this point. What I'm going to do is first let you see what the Route 66 distortion sounds like, and what we have is we have the drive set to about 130, the tone set to about 3, but the tone is off. Volume is set to maybe 10 o'clock. Okay, the other side is compression. This is both a distortion and a compression pedal, overdrive and compression. I'm not going to use compression here. Okay, so what we're going to do, since I can't play and hold the camera at the same time. Okay, there you go. We're going to turn the Route 66 overdrive on. You can see that particular distortion. It's pretty good. You know, it's your classic rock sound. We're going to turn that off. We're going to turn the real tube pedal with the 12 AU7 inside. You can hear it has a much warmer sound. It's more British, but since the 12AX7 isn't in there, the 12AU7 is about 40% the power that a 12AX7 is. So what it leaves you with is more of a warmer, sweeter drive without a lot of that really muddy, dark, what I call the British distortion sound. This is a British distortion sound, there's no two ways about it, but it's not nearly as muddy in my mind as the 12AU7 is. Very nice, warm, distorted sound. One last thing I'll do is with the real tube on and the 12AU7 inside, I'm going to turn on my preamp overdrive. It's YM308 DOD pedal, Yngwie Malmsteen. Normal distorted sound. Now the lead. Also, that was going through a Telecaster with this little 59 humbucker in it as well. So it's a little bit of a Telecaster sound, a little bit of a humbucker sound. But I would definitely suggest you pick up one of these real tube pedals. They don't make them anymore, but you can get one on eBay for under $100. Sometimes as little as $40 or $50 if you watch the auctions. And put a 12AU7 in it. You also get a 12AT7, which is a slightly different sound. It's less power than a 12AX7 is as well. But I didn't mention when I took this apart earlier that the case is made out of what feels like solid cast iron. I mean, it's heavy as hell. It's got 4 sheet metal screws and solid components. They do not make pedals like this anymore. But to get something like what they call the tone bone nowadays is $200–300 with a tube inside of it, when you can actually get a pedal just as good from eBay that was made years ago. Clean it up with a little bit of the deoxit, put your own tube inside, and mix and match it with your solid state or tube amp to get tube amp sounds. That's the other thing I didn't mention as well. My Carvin Legacy is set in 50 watt mode, and it does have tubes inside. It is a tube amp. It has 4 6L6s and 512 AX7s inside. But you could just as easily use this this real tube pedal with something like a Fender Frontman, a cheaper PV amp, or you know, Vox, Valve State, or any of the things that you have on hand, cheaper Marshalls and so forth. Any of those could maybe sound a world better by this tube pedal. That's my review of the Real Tube 2 Works pedal, designed by B.K. Butler from the late 70s. Thanks.